Hello, fellow targeted individuals. If you are being targeted and followed on the road, one method which may help you to detect surveillance is if you're on a road and you see an area where there's like a middle lane, which is just for taking a right and a left, you can drive up in there, slow down, to see if the car behind you is going to do the same exact thing, and then go right back on the road. Because what will happen is that the car, if this car does the same exact thing, the car behind that car will pass you, will most likely be behind you, the car that was behind this car behind you. So that way, if that car does this and goes right back on the road, you'll be able to see if you're being tailed. One method I like to utilize is while I'm driving, sometimes I may just take a left and then do this, go right back out and go down the opposite road, opposite side of the road to see if that car will also do that same maneuver and go back the opposite way. When you see that, chances are really high that you're being tailed on the road. And I've seen that thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times in my lifetime.
Many targeted individuals go through pure hell. State by state, they may experience targeting. And I want to let you guys know it's not just Freemasons doing this stuff. It's not always your local lodge doing this. It can be somebody from a different town. It can be a group of people tied to associations, and it can be a collaboration of different people from many different associations. Let me give you an example. In Texas, I had a problem with FEMA's Citizens Corps programs, and I dealt with them in prior states, and I couldn't figure out why I was dealing with so many people involved in community preparedness. I also couldn't figure out why people driving black SUVs wearing black suits and black shades were harassing me out of school. When I went out to eat, they were treating me like I was some type of threat. Well, after a while of dealing with these people, I would say around 2006, I started noticing this trend with a lot of like LGBT and transgender. I started researching different groups which I had discovered had members which had targeted me under the guises of sustainability, environmentalism. So there are TIs in the TI community which are disabled. And what many people don't understand is that they'll just view you as a resource drain. And under the guises of making communities greener, or let's say they say you're a dissenter, they may slap a label on you. Let's say you're not disabled. You can be slapped with the label saying, hey, you're a dissenter, and then you're a risk. And what will happen is that these different players may outsource to shady local players. And these perps, or I guess you can call them middlemen, contractors, ex officials, um, who thrive off of targeting people and using gray zones of bureaucracy to capitalize off this activity, know that the target doesn't have enough money to go up against them, because these groups typically have a lot of staff. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of paralegals and attorneys. So these departments, which are outsourcing, they know that targets which are being mobbed are being impacted by this. Or they know that we're human beings, but they don't care because they're trying to destroy your life. Now, there are some contractors. Well, let me go back. Now that we have Trump in office, all these diversity and inclusion programs, like the funding for it, is being shut down. But there's still little traces of it here and there left around the country, and they're operating behind associations under the pretexts of sustainability or community safety. So the sustainability angle, based on utilizing green initiatives as a cover for control or inclusion, is being utilized as a weapon against Americans. And NDA agreements bury these cases because most targets don't have 6 figures or more to go up against these groups. These cases are hard to crack without leaks and whistleblowers, and there is information out there, fellow TIs. I communicate with quite a few TIs, and we just keep it down low because we have to live here. And the risk isn't worth it because we're outnumbered. It'd be different if we were like overseas and had a commune or something. So, has been utilized as a convenient mask for diversity and inclusion groups. You ever wondered why, like in the past, you'd hear about civil rights groups saying they're getting involved in sustainability? But what made me wonder is why would we want to give some of these groups 20, $30 million when they don't have any skills to really promote sustainability? We talk about the environment, cleaning the air, but nobody in their groups has any real training on getting rid of pollutants in that area. So a lot of this is a cover for procurement. So when I lived in Texas, the Citizen Score programs, they justified their surveillance under the guises of preparedness. So most of these cases are not documented. There's typically no public record because it's all masked under the guises of Homeland Security. And the regional councils, they've gotten cozy with federal agencies. Why? Let me rephrase that. The federal agencies have gotten cozy with regional councils. So this is a backdoor for a lot of abuse. And these targeting programs typically impact conservatives, which are outspoken. They're very vocal about their views, their constitutional rights. And I'm not blaming targeting that I've experienced here in Florida for 6 years to regional councils. But in Texas, that was just one of the aspects. So um, these cases involving targeting typically always involve marginalized groups. A lot of this is being done under the false guises of sustainability. And you may notice that some of these regional councils will have other partners. So, under the guises of DEI and ESG, environmental, social, and governance frameworks, a lot of this abuse has been occurring. Now, there are in many cities associations which are still pushing the diversity and inclusion agenda. And I'm not saying that diversity and inclusion is bad as a whole. At one time it was okay, but now it's turned into like a freak show. And there are aspects of social engineering occurring through some groups which are promoting this agenda. When people think of diversity and inclusion, they typically think of different races all being able to have equal access to employment. But no, now it's more based on let's empower women, LGBT. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We should, empower all people to be able to progress. But there is a negative side to DEI because it is also being utilized to transform society. So we really need to thank Trump, fellow TIs, for decimating DEI programs. And I'm an Hispanic person. If anyone should be supporting these types of things, it should be somebody like me. It's a minority. But when you really go down the rabbit hole and you see the how corrupt some diversity and inclusion groups are and the abuse it could lead to based under the guises of sustainability and community safety, it makes sense on why the deep state creates situations to help push their agendas, promoting diversity and inclusion, gun restrictions, UN ideals. So you may notice that when you start investigating a lot of these people which have harassed you, you may notice that their groups look like a freak show. I just researched one group that I dealt with a while back, and it's packed with transgender people, LGBT, lesbian. So God bless those people. I don't hang out in gay bars. I don't associate with people that live that lifestyle. My thing is more of Christianity. I like to watch Fox News. So when you're targeted, you will have people that try to act as if what they're doing is justifiable. You don't know who they are. You don't know what their intentions are, but they come across as being uh, a potential law enforcement officer, but when in fact they're typically not. I mean, sometimes that's the case for some TIs, but they're just regular Joes which are being given a contract. They've signed a non disclosure agreement. And
A lot of targets are going to experience a dramatic decline in their targeting, and the reason why is due to the defunding of a lot of this diversity and inclusion. You may have been wondering why you've been harassed by large groups of people that come with a fleet of cars and show up when you arrive as if you're dangerous. I've experienced this not hundreds of times, not like 1 or 2 thousand times, but thousands upon thousands of times. And it's typically always an association, a contractor, a group of some sort, which is seeking funding